This ship needs no introductions, having been at the top of the food chain in Legends now since December 2019. But every ship in Legends is susceptible to power creep, right? Maybe not the Jambar. This ship is still extremely good, so good in fact that it still ranks as the #1 tier 7 battleship in terms of damage dealt. Number 2, that's the Lenin. And the third might actually surprise you, it did me. According to our community managers, La Foudre is actually in 3rd place. That is the Jambar knockoff that just came out in the store last week. But I will say this 3rd place spot, it sounds like it's hotly contested with the Missouri and Lion, the British tier 7 premium, also right there with it. But Jambar, this is still an extremely capable ship and could be argued that it's still the most capable BB at the tier. However, it's not for sale, so why even talk about it? 2 reasons. A ship this old, it's interesting to revisit it after 3 years to see how it ranks. It's kind of like a litmus test to see how things have been balanced over the years at tier 7 and now tier 8. And number 2, this ship will still be a super prize. It was last Christmas in the Super Santa 22 crates. So it's possible this Christmas she'll be coming back as a super prize, and maybe someone out there will be winning her and will want a fresh review of it. I would start by saying I would never gamble for crates to get a ship like this. The drop rate as of last year in those Super Santa 22 crates is 0.05%, along with other very rare ships like Belfast, Ognivoy, Wichita CE, Ochakov, and the Kuchezov. So it's a very low chance of actually pulling JB in these crates, but just in case someone does, here's a fresh review. So the game in the background, it's truly nothing special for this boat. I think about 175k when it's all said and done. The ship has the potential to do so much more. On WoW's builds, I think the record is some 330,000. But nevertheless, I always love showing videos on Islands of Ice because the map is beautiful. The World of Warships art department is top-notch, awesome. So we have an interesting gameplay here to show you in the background. At the start of this, I thought whether or not I should flank way wide to the left, but decided instead to kind of take a central approach in the second cap circle here. We'll still have the opportunity for crossfires, and we're kind of going to be watching this Friesland, hoping he will screw up and give us the chance to use our reload booster to blap him. So we're going to keep watching him on the map and hopefully try to get him out of here, but we'll see how the game kind of progresses. Before we go any further, I'll show you my build. While it's great on JB, it's also a decent idea for the La Foudre and Richelieu as well if you are interested in setting her up. We used Aiming Systems Mod 1, Damage Control Module, Concealment, and MBM3. Jard is great, but really a brawling commander would be better, so me personally I used Azerlane Dunkerque. Brawler, Megelomania, and Fight Fire with Fire round out the build. And for the inspirations on JB, I'm using Azerlane Scharnhorst and Iachino to buff the accuracy. Guepratte, that would be my choice for you if you were just setting the ship up with free-to-play commanders. Why? Because she has good enough range, and with some of the brawling perks, she's an excellent brawler. I don't think this is a ship that should be sniping. Instead, she seems to excel when you get a little closer to the action and kind of use islands to protect yourself. Some special notes on this. In slot 1, I think the armament durability module, I would strongly recommend that. I think I'm going to go back and change that on Foudre and JB. The turrets seem to get knocked pretty frequently. Any good enemy BB captain is going to know this. He's going to shoot right for your guns, especially in close range fighting. Richelieu, not so much. You can keep Aiming Systems Mod 1 over there because she has inherently harder turrets to knock out. It was part of a buff to her years ago to set her apart from JB a little bit. Other little notes to consider. JB has a kilometer longer range than the Foudre, so using Brawler on Foudre is probably not going to work out for you, and you might even need Megatron as an inspiration over there, depending on your playstyle. Anyways, in this match we backed up because the Hipper looked a little rushy, and I thought we might get the chance to blap this Algerie as well before moving back forwards. It looks like we're going to catch him sitting out here and we'll take a shot, see what happens. He's angled just enough that I probably will over-penetrate him. But let's look at some of the stats on this ship. After all, it has been 3 years. 69k health. It's pretty good still. And it's enough that you could take the armament durability module and even Megelomania and eat that 10% nerf to your health and be fine. Richelieu, I probably wouldn't take them both just because your health pool is already a little bit too low. The guns. Jean Bart's reload is way too good in my opinion. There's a reason La Foudre had her reload nerfed a full second. So 26 base for the Jean Bart. It isn't the lowest for 380s. Tirpitz, Vanguard, and Monarch have that honor there with a 25-second base reload, but there's a difference. The Tirpitz and the Vanguard, they have the same amount of guns. However, their playstyle usually means that to use all of their guns, they need to be maneuvering, using your speed and rudder to bring the guns into and out of the fight because their gun firing angles are not good enough. Gun firing angles don't really matter so much on the JB, given that all of her firepower is right on the front of her ship. Also, I just wanted to pay special note to that. If you're dealing with a hipper and a ship like this that has 380mm guns, you know he can bounce all of your AP, switch to HE, and you will break every module on that ship, including his engine. That is always your best bet. Moving on. So, the JB. You don't have to maneuver to get these guns in and out of the fight. You just stay bow on, basically. So yes, Vanguard and Tirpitz have higher DPM numbers, but without putting any effort into it at all, JB is still going to fire more shells per match just because of the way she plays. All of it means JB is the tier 7 battleship that continues to be #1 for damage output, and I think she will stay that way. The shell velocity is also quite high, that's why I was worried about overpinning that Algerie, but it's great for hitting targets at range since the shells travel really quickly. Prince Heinrich is rushing us here a little bit, and the German secondaries are actually quite dangerous to these ships, so you do have to be careful, but lucky for me, he seems to be just kind of sailing broadside, so we're going to be okay here. Moving on. The next stat, JB has stupid good AA. It's among the top 5 for battleships at the tier. She also has average speed, but she has a French speed boost consumable that is really great. It lasts 3 minutes, and she has an average rudder, but one of the better concealments at tier 7. So all in all, it means that Jean Bart is still a really good battleship. Some could argue Lenin is the best battleship at the tier, because that ship isn't even being put out for a super prize. But regardless, JB, Lion, Missouri, they're the best battleships at the tier going off of their statistics. Somewhere up there, I would have to put the Massachusetts still. I mean, surely that ship is one of the better BBs at the tier, but anyways. Back to the match. The Reds kind of disintegrated in this one. There's a Vladivostok, a Friesland, and a KGV left standing in the way of finishing this match off. Foudre. Like I mentioned in my review of her last week, I think that is going to be the closest to buying a Jean Bart outright we will ever see again in Legends. I truly was surprised to hear that she was in 3rd place for damage dealt at tier 7. That's pretty darn good. Even with her nerfs, it just goes to show how strong the Jean Bart really is. I think there is also something to be said about one of the consumables we did not talk about, and that's the reload boosters. 2 of them stock. It often surprises enemies, especially cruisers or BBs that think they can get a turn off. So they turn out broadside and you hit the reload booster, whammo. On that note, like we did to the Flander earlier, when a battleship damage cons a single fire, I usually always hit the reload booster with HE to make them pay for that with a permanent fire or 2. I cannot stand when a player gets away with damage conning a single fire, so usually I just can't help it, have to use that reload booster. Overall though, I really don't think the Jean Bart has been power crept much at all. I still think it's a solid ship, and it's very easy to play. I think that's where a lot of the strength lies with this ship. The skill floor is on the ground, in the basement. Most can pick her up, position themselves half-heartedly, and manage to rack up a good amount of damage. In the same breath, though, I think the skill ceiling is high. A good JB captain who knows when to push and where to position is a very scary opponent. We've all faced them. It's a hard ship to beat when it comes down to it. Now here, we're probably overextending a little bit, but the plan was, before I got that turret knocked, to switch to AP, shoot the KGV with AP, and then to ram the Vladivostok. And I know the Friesland is out here somewhere, but I really assumed he was out of smoke screens. Alas, he's not, but we'll see. So anyways, that was the plan going forward. We'll see how it plays out. Now, if you don't have this ship, again, I wouldn't recommend whaling, but last year, there was a ship guarantee system in place for the Super Santa 22 crates. I think for every 40 containers, you got a ship guaranteed. I would point out, though, that that is a big list of ships. Lots of premiums from all of the tiers. Tiers 4 and 5, it was a 7% drop rate, 3% drop rate for Tier 6, 0.45% drop rate for Tier 7s, and then again 0.05% for the super prizes. Last year, that was 74 ships. Now, your chance of getting a super prize ship like the Jean Bart, of course, does go up if you have a lot of the other ships, but still, just saying it right here, I would not recommend gambling. If you want this ship, buy the Fudor. Apparently, it is still good enough, even with all of its nerfs. Overall, I am curious how many of you all still play the JB, or how many of you picked up the Fudor to test her. Let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to subscribe for future content so that you don't miss any news or ship reviews, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya.